Hello, everybody. Adrian Plass here.
Yes, and Bridget. Hello.
And this, unless I'm much mistaken,
You say that every
I
time.
know I do. That's because I've often been mistaken in the past. This is going to be number 234
hmm
in Sounding the Shallows.
hmm
And just earlier today, I had a little dip of confidence about this, and I thought, do we want to go on doing this for the rest of our lives, or do we want to? I mean, I quite enjoy doing it, but what do you think?
Well, I quite enjoy doing it too. And if there's just one or two people listening, why not? And
Right,
we love getting the emails from
we
people,
do.
so that's one of the lovely things about it. So we might as well
All right.
carry on a bit longer.
Okay, hello, one or two people. How are you doing? But it does fit in with something else I thought this week because when we started doing this, and we've talked too much about this, but back in COVID time, we did it every day for whatever it was days,
Yeah.
and even then I thought, well, maybe we'll do it for a week or a
Mm.
fortnight, and we had no idea what it would feel like, what the structure of it would be,
Mm.
where we would end up with it.
hmm
And then we made the decision that we would no longer do the daily ones after COVID.
Mm.
And we started on Fridays. And that was a different feeling altogether because we learned that the fact that you have a week to prepare means you have even less time to prepare because you leave it to the last moment. No, it's not quite like that. But you have no picture, no real knowledge in your head of what the outcome of quite one sense, a small decision will be.
Mm.
And this week, someone wrote to me, just reminded me, and I'm glad he did because it made me think of something I've never actually written about or thought
Really?
about for some. Well,
Something you haven't written
that's
about.
almost impossible because when you write a lot, as I have in the past have, you feed on it all
I
the time.
know.
But this is about something that you will remember that there was a time back in really right back at the beginning of us. Being involved in doing this kind of thing when I thought I might go into the church.
Of course, I remember that. I mean, I suppose the thing was that you had had a structured career. You were running a secure unit. You imagined at the time you'd go on in that sort of work. I don't quite know where from, but that would be the next thing. You would, in some way, continue that. The breakdown interrupted that. And then as you got well and you started writing, I think both of us felt, well, now we need to look out for another job,
Yeah.
something that was a specific thing. And we were going to an Anglican church at the time, and maybe that was the thing you thought. And I
Mm.
remember you pursuing it.
Well, when I started to think about it, I remember it very clearly. But what appalls me is that I had no idea what I was talking about. And yet, as you'll see, I mean, I'll read what I've written back to my friend about this because something he said made me think about this. Um, so my experience 35 years ago, when I wondered if I should look into the possibility of becoming an Anglican priest. In fact, I never got further than the very, very, very first step,
I do remember that.
which was a meeting with a man whose task it was to weed out those who were blatantly unsuitable for the job.
Hmm.
And he was obviously the ideal man for the job because he weeded me out almost immediately,
Fairly
really
briskly, really.
briskly.
Yes. Yeah.
And looking back, I don't really blame him. I mean, then I thought he's probably a silly old dodder who didn't know what he's talking about. But then I don't think, I mean, I think he just thought, what? Because I said, I remember he said, well, how do you view your career in the church? And I said, well, I just want to make it clear that I don't want to be in charge of a church.
Right, that was your
Right, this is
your
sort of
opening
Anglican
gambit.
priest, yeah. So there's that, and also I don't have any sort of formal office in an Anglican organisation, right? Um, and there was this lengthy pause as he stared at me, and he asked me what I did want, and I replied, "This sounds so odd now," and I can almost hear myself saying it. I said, "I want to be a person who kind of hangs around being available to people who need a priest in whatever form is most helpful to them. And I said, hopefully, being ordained, you see, to
You
him
see,
would be
yeah,
a useful one in some situations and with
yeah,
some individuals. And the
yeah.
poor man scratched his head um, and pretended to make notes with a biro. I remember him doing that, but I could see, I knew that the first rung on the ladder had snapped under my weight. As I say, I don't think I'd ever written about that day before, and I haven't thought about it for a long time. But the interesting thing is that someone asked me this week, actually the same person, whether the book I wrote, which is called The Shadow Doctor, is about something rather similar to this really rather vacuous idea I had about what I do. And the answer is it is. The character, the Shadow Doctor in this book, for instance, at one point in the book, he takes a red cloth off,
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
and his companion Jack says, "Why did you bring it?" And he says, "I don't know, but I know why I would, because it's so nice and red and big, and anything could happen with a big red cloth." So now I understand much more what I meant, if I meant anything, but I would never have been able to imagine how that could end up.
And are you glad, do you think, that you didn't get chosen to become an Anglican priest?
I am actually, not least because I think I would have been one of the worst Anglican priests in the
No.
history of the Anglican Church. No, I mean it. I know I would. But I remember thinking after this meeting, you've screwed up because
Of course.
I wanted to be someone with a calling, and I think I'd hoped
And a job, a
that
proper
I'd
job.
found one, well,
Yeah.
and a job that was for God,
Yeah, of course.
And so when I was summarily dismissed as an obviously as a man who was really several whatnot short of a thing with Bob, I felt what was that then? Did that not mean anything? So for a little while I felt a bit worried about it.
But you did pursue it, and sometimes I think, I mean, I know we've talked a lot and laughed quite a lot about guidance in the church and how sometimes you can be encouraged because you've got this mustard seed of an idea that it must be the whole thing and that must be your path in life because you've thought of an idea and because it seems to make sense and because surely having had this idea, God is going to support that idea and that's what you will become. I find that very interesting, and I'd love to know what other people's experience have been of that, because there have been times, haven't there, when we have been pretty sure about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And looking back, we kind of did it, but not at all in the way we thought we were going to do it. I mean, I was thinking, you came home one day from a meeting somebody who was very involved with the charity toy box. And you said, I have an idea we might be going to Bolivia. And at the time, to my deep
Or
embarrassment,
Peru, it might have been Peru.
no, it was
it
Bolivia
Bolivia?
because
Okay.
I thought, I don't know where Bolivia is. And I
No,
remember having to look it up on a map.
it's
But the
just
point
south
is,
of Luton, isn't it?
exactly. No, I think I thought it was where Bulgaria is, if I'm absolutely honest. Anyway, the point I'm making is that we then had some extraordinary experiences on the edge of a wonderful charity that's doing amazing things and saw some incredible projects, but only because we had got used to the idea that things might pop up and crop up, and it was quite a good idea to be open to the adventure. So, so I think it was good that you went to see this guy. It might have been the right thing. He might have looked at you and thought, "That's exactly what the Anglican Church needs." The fact that he didn't think that is
Well,
it shows his wisdom, I
what I
think.
suggested wasn't a thing.
No, it wasn't the thing. Well, quite a lot of
So
things
to go
aren't.
along and say to someone, "I want to be part of your organisation," but I don't want to
But I
actually have
don't.
any function in it.
I know. I know.
But now I do think that the idea of not the randomness, but the closer you, I would say something that I don't think I really mean, but the nearer you get to giving up your responsibility for the plan you're following, the more odd and wild it can get. And I like that, really. I like the idea that we're not planning our projects and pursuing them and to the point that they go way over the point where they should be, because it does happen.
I mean, the truth is, Adrian, I think this tunes in with our temperament a bit. And I think I've been a little bit inclined sometimes to not fully respect or appreciate the people who just do a solid job, often all of their lives. My dad was one of those people. And I think one of the things I have realized is that very often, although people are quietly pursuing what to us has sometimes looked maybe not very adventurous, produce amazing things in other people, in their children. Often their children develop really, really well. Their churches often develop really, really well because they're not ego driven and they're not, as you said, project based. And they're just somebody giving their heart to something over a long, long period. And I think both of us have come to respect that hugely. We visit some churches, don't we, where we know from almost immediately that somebody has given of their very best into that situation over a long period of time. And they might be rueful about the areas they haven't managed to overcome, but they've hung on in. And there were times, if you think of St. Paul, there was one time when he had to hang on in for ages and ages, obviously wondering what the heck
Can
he
you
was
remember
doing.
where it was? He was for years with them.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I will as soon as we stop this talking. But I do remember he had to go on and on arguing his point, being there in the marketplace. And there must have been times when he thought, well, surely I've finished here and the next bit is going to happen because that's what's happened up to now. So sometimes he was in a place for a very short time, and other times and had to escape with his life, and other times stuck in. And I think both of those are part of God's plan for our lives, aren't there? Periods where it's important that you just put down roots and you get on with the job there.
Yeah.
But also being aware that might not be forever. And do you remember we met somebody who'd been a vicar for years and years, and he was quite low, and he said, I would like to give myself permission to stop now and do something else, but I don't know how to do it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So maybe that's also important. But I love the fact you went to see this guy. You did come back a little doleful, but then it's triggered off other things.
I think if I'm honest, also a little part of me thought he really doesn't understand my amazing vision for faith. That I would go around the world doing incredible things. So yeah, there was a lot of that. But other things, I was just today I was talking to a friend about projects, about something starts and it's going to be wonderful or not wonderful or whatever, but you start it and then you come to a point where you steer it. If you don't steer it right, it could go very wrong. And I was saying to him about when I wrote this book, which was really only a silly little book.
Oh, you mean the Sacred Diary
of Adrian? Yep. That's right. So, and I was saying to him that I read bits of it to certain people, and I can remember who they were, and I can remember the looks on the faces of two of them, who obviously thought
worried.
Well, just
bewildered,
not interested. It was just
right. I don't think there was anybody bored.
Well,
I think it was more anxious.
I think they were. No, I think they were. I remember one person thought, "It's not very cutting, is it?"
Oh, there was that.
And at that point, that's one of those points, and I remember it where I thought, "Oh dear, maybe I should be more cutting." And then I thought, no, I don't want to cut people. I want to be inside the place where the problems are. Well, I had no great mission for that. But to make people laugh about something safely, you need to be inside it. And so hanging on to things that made it what it was quite difficult because I mean, I didn't know how successful it would or wouldn't be. But in the end, as we've said before, the main uh, the main bit indication that it could be okay was from teenagers who heard extracts from it and laughed. And
Well, so did
teenagers
the teenagers in your secure unit.
don't give away
No,
things
but
like
I
that.
mean, you did understand the heart of young people, even very damaged ones. And in your secure unit, there was lots of laughter and lots of odd stuff and lots of off the wall stuff. And I was talking to somebody today, Adrian, who used to teach RE, and she was saying one of the wonderful things about teaching RE, and one of the things about coming at it not just from a Christian point of view is that you can say to young people, there isn't a right or a wrong answer on this. You can explore creatively what you think. And giving people permission, and I think storytelling does that. It gives people a chance to explore what their reaction is. And humour does it too. People laugh. And it opens up something that's really great, And I think it's one thing we've learned step by step, bit by bit, that it's okay to be open to people not agreeing with you or people thinking opposite to you. That's not a sentence, but you know what I mean.
It's almost a sentence.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. And she was saying that and this is what reminded me. She was saying that the naughty children loved it.
Yeah.
Because for once there wasn't a right or a wrong answer. And our danger so often with Christian teaching is we forget that Jesus always opened it up.
Well, he'd answered questions with a story, yes.
Yes, exactly. So he left it with people to think it through. And we're still looking at those stories and thinking them through and having an individual response to them depending on where we're coming from. It's still a creative process.
It's still quite hard for people, I think, often teaching, perhaps especially young people, I'm not sure, to avoid closing down the options for
it's not just young people, is it? It's all of us. I mean, there's always dangers. And it gives us safety and security to one person, shuts down somebody who maybe is a bit more off the wall, lateral thinking or whatever. So
one thing I did remember, I mean, in the not just the secure unit, actually more in the open units I worked in from time to time, was that faintly amusingly, if there was a boy, say, who wasn't going to do what he was told.
Well, it would be a boy because they were boys in your
in the
open
ones they were, yeah. If there was a boy who wasn't going to do what he was told, I learned that with some of them, the thing was never to hang around to hear them say they weren't going to do it. So I very specifically, after a while, say, this is what I think, and this is what you're going to do, or what I want you to do, and then walk out.
And then scarper.
Yes, because then it's not very Jesus-like, but it left them with a choice, because they had to think, well, what will I do? Well, when it came to working at Scargill House, which is a conference centre, there were Christian summer things and all sorts of things. I remember as we've both done this, I think, there were kids who were really not interested in God, prayer, any of that stuff.
No, well, a bit like our children at one point, where the thing they enjoyed most was playing football after the service.
But more than that, there were ones who just, they weren't.
No, they've been brought along.
That. Yeah,
that's right.
And I remember talking to one of them who hadn't shown any interest in anything, and suddenly remembering the thing with the kids, and saying, we pray for people here sometimes. If you wanted to, at any time, you've only got to come find me and tell me. Okay, just thought I'd tell you that, and walk away. And I remember two boys coming to do
I remember it as well.
Precisely that.
Yeah.
And I don't think they quite knew what they were doing, but because they had issues in their lives that were important to them, I think they just thought this could be worth,
Yeah.
but to have stayed and to started spouting stuff about faith and stuff, I think would have pushed them away. So it was
And to
interesting,
be
really.
honest, I said about these churches, and we visited one or two recently, haven't we? And you felt that the people are giving their heart there, and that it is a place you can come along and you can ask that question or this question, and you're not going to be shut down. It's never going to be easy for people to give their lives to one job. And you've been really, I mean, as you say, you're still doing that job, but we've been very fortunate, I suppose, because we've done lots of different things. I
Yeah.
don't know, really.
Have we been fortunate? I suppose we have.
I
really,
think we
yeah,
have,
yeah.
but so yeah.
And in fact, in the broad sense, we would never have known going back to when we first met. We were both at theatre school and we had no idea what the future would hold.
Well, I think we thought that it would hold being actors and actors. You don't call it
we'd be
actresses
famous.
anymore.
We were going to be famous.
Oh, I never thought that. But I never, no.
You
I
never thought you were going to be
No,
famous?
I don't think
Right.
so. But I did think I would be on a stage doing
Yeah.
something somewhere. No, I think I just wanted to be doing it. I don't think I ever thought I would aspire to all that much. But
And now
yeah.
we've ended up sitting on a stage with a dog asleep in a bed between us.
Not every time,
Well,
but we
the
have.
last 4.
Yes.
You say not every time. I mean, she now knows that that's a possibility, and she sleeps very well while we're speaking,
And
as many
she's
people
next
do.
to us now, doing exactly that, isn't she?
Exactly.
What did you just say? As
Uh,
many people.
Yes,
What?
I was joking. I'm sure
Yes.
everyone's riveted by what we say, but no, she's so used to us blathering on that she just sticks there in her little bed.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an interesting area of
And we would
thinking.
really love to hear whether for you it has been a job that has held you and that you have dug deep into, or whether you started something and changed direction, or whether you look back and are pleased with the journey you've taken. Just anything really. Be lovely.
Yeah, anything along those lines, I'd be fascinated to hear. However, it won't be till at least next week now. Goodbye.